Hello, my friends, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we are going to ramble a little bit, in all honesty. This article will probably spark a few thoughts in my silly little head, but it seemed like a good place to start. It is, of course, niche gamers. Baldur's Gate 3 director says single-player games aren't dead. They just have to be good. And, I mean, it's kind of a no-duh situation. And you will hear a lot of pushback in general from certain groups, and most of those groups are the ones who don't want to put the effort into actually creating a good game. If you recall, when Baldur's Gate 3 came out, there was a lot of complaints about how people shouldn't expect this in every game, how this shouldn't be the new bar that people set. And that's because they actually put work into Baldur's Gate 3. Whether you enjoy it or not, they did put a great deal of work into it. And I think that is possibly the major difference between live service multiplayer games and single player games. In a multiplayer game, you can very often get away with having a much more shallow and less in-depth storyline. Basically because the interactions with your friends, the interactions with other teammates really makes up for the whole storyline. That is what carries the fun, because you have other people to distract you from what might not seem as entertaining. You have other people to interact with. That is, like I said, what carries the story, what carries the game. Multiplayer is about being entertained with other people. Yeah, there should be some amount of story, but you really can get off a lot more lightly, and you don't have to be as creative, at least writing wise. Realistically, if you have crappy mechanics, you're still not going to have fun because people can't interact well with bad mechanics. It's kind of how that is. With a single player game, however, you have to build a singular experience that will bring that one player back for hours on end. Now, there is a push currently also to make shorter games, and yeah, I can see where those have a place. That's part of why I do think game developers should develop the games they want to develop and not the games that investors or sometimes even gamers demand, because sometimes gamers don't always know what they want. We have a general idea and we express it in many ways, but that doesn't mean that somebody can't come up with something entirely new, something that we'd never thought of before. So much of what we have today was an idea that some guy sat down, or gal, mostly guy though, sat down and said one day, I'm going to try to do this kind of game. And they did, and other people loved it. We talked last week about the Koei Tecmo founder who put out that game that he didn't anticipate getting anywhere, and it basically hit the moon. He sold over 10,000 copies. He had to bring in friends, bring in other people's wives to help him package these copies to send out to people because people loved it so much, or they were so interested in it. And that was something nobody really thought could be done before. Back in the day where there were no rules because people were inventing the rules, things were much more innovative. And now you have rules, and too many people try to stick to them. There was something I was watching earlier today talking about gaming. I think it was a video by Bellular News. Don't remember specifically what the topic of the video was, but he was talking about the idea of lagging indicators versus leading indicators. When you're gathering data, when you're just looking at information coming in, that is a lagging indicator. What that means is that tells you what's going on in the market. That tells you how things are shaping up, what people are interested in right now. And that information can be very important when you're looking to build a game, because you do want to know what people are interested in right now. Unfortunately, because game development takes so long, by the time you know what people want, they're already moving on to the next thing. Thus, using a lagging indicator, such as data polls and things that people are interested in, takes longer to really figure it out. You have to try to find some leading indicators, or more importantly, you have to just try to be creative. Sometimes you have to try to be your own leading indicator. Now, you can take from lagging indicators the general idea of what people are interested in and try to project what they might be interested in next, because let's face it, these things often work in cycles. There's a period where people are interested in one thing for a while and they cycle into the next. If you can guess what that next cycle is, or if you can figure it out by using logic and extrapolation, then you have a really good chance of creating a new, important, exciting game. Or at least the next game that people are going to pick up because, hey, they saw it and it looked interesting. But at the same time, the best thing to do is to just be creative. And right now, and I've said this before, game devs, especially in the AAA market, don't want to be creative. Investors like to look at lagging indicators. They like to get a sense of what's going on now because they're in a market for the most part that moves much more quickly, that goes up and down fast. And if you're on top of the lagging indicators, you have a much closer view of where things might be going and can grab at that faster. As I said, with game cycling as slow as it is, using those lagging indicators isn't as profitable as it would be in other businesses. By accepting money from people who have no idea what gaming really is, and then listening to them, you end up with issues. Now, there's other issues, of course, without even that. The whole hiring people for what they look like or who they sleep with versus what their abilities are, what they bring to the table, what they can actually create is a huge issue. Those same people seem to lack the real ability to conceptualize past what is within their own tight little bubble. The other issues of schools not really teaching people how to take steps outside of the thing add another fear of people actually trying to experiment with the rules and push past them. The idea that you might break something or that you might actually change something within the gaming sphere really bothers some people. They don't like the idea that they might be responsible for something entirely new. Other good examples of that are Smash JT had a video not too long ago where someone sent him a video of the base female character with an Unreal 5. An Unreal 5's base character really isn't that attractive. When you consider that it is a tool made to quickly create these games, or not really quickly create these games, but to speed up the process of creating these games by providing people with this already built tool that honestly most of them learn how to use in college. Thus, when they're getting into a new company, they're onboarded with baked-in knowledge. They never stop to consider the idea, hey, maybe I can get in and change this a little more. And so the person who sent Smash JT the video showed what happened when she uploaded her own mesh into Unreal Engine 5, where she was able to achieve something much more attractive. And it is that kind of laziness in game development that you see. And again, it's a combination. It's both the people that they are hiring and the investors. Because when you want to do that kind of thing, it takes more time. It takes more effort. You have to try harder. You have to actually figure out how to get the mesh in, how to build the mesh, and then you put it in. And those things aren't easy. They're just not. And the people, for the most part, graduating these colleges and going into game design are thinking, oh, I have all these tools, so this is just going to be easy. It's going to be a simple, easy build that I just pull out of this stuff and we're done. We don't have to really spend a lot of time on it. And some of them, of course, don't really care what the characters look like. Some of them want them to look like that. But I do think overall it's more an issue of laziness than anything else. I want to say in the mid-2010s, there was a lot of advertisements on the radio for, hey, come to our school, come to our online classes, and get these game design skills that are guaranteed to get you anywhere. I would love to know how many of these people have game design skills from like Westwood or WGU, because that's where a lot of those programs were through. And when you have something that appears to be that easily achievable, and people think, I kind of like video games, or that sounds cool, I can do that. And they have this easy course that teaches them this tool that they then move on into a job because, hey, the job says, well, you know how to use this tool, and we're tired of building and upkeeping our own engine, so we're going to use this tool, so it's much easier to fit together. So many of the great games from the past were built on a custom game engine. These studios knew what they wanted this engine to do, and they built it in such a way that it would do what it needed to do, and it worked for them. And it created something amazing because what they had was custom to themselves. It's like buying a suit off the rack versus having something custom tailored. When you have it custom tailored, it fits in all the right places. It moves with you. It flows. And when you're using something off the rack, it's always going to be a little big in the shoulders, maybe a little saggy in the crotch. It's never quite going to fit right. And an excellent example of that is Avowed. It was made on Unreal 5. It has the same kind of look, the same kind of abilities as most games made in Unreal 5. Now, if you work with Unreal 5, you can really do some amazing things. But unfortunately, if you're not a developer who's willing to put in the effort to deal with some of the issues that Unreal 5 comes with and cut them back, so that you can have a smoother experience, it's never really going to go very well. And of course, the issue with making your own engine is the upkeep, is the expense that it takes to program it, and all of the other unpleasantries, which is part of why so many games are moving away from that and just using Unreal 5. Because let's face it, if you don't have to build the thing and the people you're hiring already know it, why fight with it, right? It's part of why Adobe is such a widely accepted software in terms of professional circles, despite the fact it's expensive and can have some serious bugs and can really piss you off sometimes, is because so many colleges teach it in school. So when you are moving into a professional world, you already have the know-how on this software and you're ready to go. You don't need extra coaching, except for maybe a special feature or two that may be specific to the job that you're getting. And all of that kind of circles back around to single player games just need to be good games. In order to be a good game, it takes the passion, it takes the desire, it takes the thought to create a game that someone's going to enjoy. Assassin's Creed Shadows is releasing. Today is its first day. As of right now, it's not looking too hot, but let's face it, it's the middle of the night, and it's going to be a mostly American bought game, so most of the people who are going to play it are currently asleep and have to go to work tomorrow. I would expect it to spike, and of course, its height should be on Friday night into Saturday, maybe even Saturday evening, and we'll see how it goes then. But everything that I hear from non-media sources, from just your average player, is that it's okay. It's voice acting is not good. The gameplay is all right. And nobody's really thrilled with the story, and everybody hates the romances. And honestly, I've seen some of the graphics from the game, and I'm staring at it, looking at it, and thinking, gee, that looks like something from the PS2 era. But at the same time, you can't even blame something like Unreal 5 for that, because Ubisoft uses their own engine. They're using Ubisoft Anvil to build the game. So they've already stepped at least one step away from the absolute base of attempting and working with their own engine, which, is not the easiest thing to do. But at the same time, if you don't even use your own tools to the best of your ability, you're not going to get very far. It's not going to come out very well. And when you look at the environment in which that game started to be built in, the development cycle for Assassin's Creed Shadows came out. It was back in 2020, right after the release of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It is an absolute product of its time. Every game that comes out is a little bit of a window into the past when it comes out, because when it started was a year, 2 year, 5+ years ago, depending on the game. And so what you're seeing when the game comes out isn't a reflection of right now, but a reflection of what was going on when it started. Now, some of them, of course, are a closer reflection to right now, especially when they scrap development and restart over. But a lot of times that's not a good thing, because that means that whatever idea they had initially, they're moving into something different, and that's often not good. So it comes as no shock that Assassin's Creed Shadows really is based more in identity politics than it is in actual wanting to care about the storyline that could have been in the past. Because at that point in time, 2020 was a huge time for identity politics, especially, you had the George Floyd, you had the riots, you had the COVID, you had all that fun stuff that really just meant that somebody who was going to be all caught up in that, and there were a lot of people all caught up in that stuff, were going to focus on that. And unfortunately, they happen to have jobs at Ubisoft. And unfortunately, they happen to write the story. And more unfortunately, whoever they picked for the mechanics really wasn't all that. He was okay. They were okay. The group of 3,000 people that they had work on it were okay. But again, when you have that many people working on a game, it's not going to be as good. Because you are at that point kind of development by committee. And it's a very large committee. 150 people is already a lot of people for developing a game. But it's a much closer and easier to associate group, especially when you consider that most humans can really only care and remember about 200 people. When you get into the 3,000 mark and you're having to deal with communications and synchronicity and trying to get everybody working together, that's a big group. And if you don't have the right people in charge of it, which I'm going to say they didn't, you're going to come out with a mess. That's part of why Dragon Age the Veilguard came out as such a mess, because they didn't have the right people coordinating the very large group over at BioWare. The people trying to do their job didn't really know what they were doing in the first place, and they had way too many people to deal with. They had way too many people to talk to. People had to talk to too many people to get a single thing done. And when you are building by committee, art by committee, is literally what gaming at the AAA scale is right now. It never comes out good. It always comes out sanitized. It comes out to whatever extreme the loudest voices on the team are. And it's not a good thing. But again, all that's to say, games just need to be good. If they want people to play them, they need to be good. It doesn't matter if it's a good multiplayer experience or the much harder to achieve single player experience, which is really what I'm trying to say with all this rambling, is that the reason game devs want to move away from the single player experience is that it's harder to maintain a good single player experience, and their track record right now, at least again on the AAA scale, is abysmal. They're not doing it well. Here's hoping that eventually this AAA studio stuff dies out and we've got so many great single player indie and AA games out there to play. I'm looking forward to, now that everything's working smoothly again, getting some time to actually play Nightingale again, and maybe I will manage to do a few late night streams of that for people if I see any interest. All that said, there will be a stream tonight at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Pop by. We're going to be doing Baldur's Gate 3 still. There's another game coming out that I'm interested in, and I'm going to check it out and see what it looks like, and we might play that for a little while instead. Baldur's Gate may be the game we go to in between me playing other games, just because it's kind of easy to pick up and put down for me, but we'll see about that. Please feel free to stop by. I look forward to being able to talk to you in person as opposed to babbling here in the video. But let me know what you have to say about any of my rambling here. I look forward to reading your comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.